Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, that should be right. Haribo, can you hear that? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Okay, cool. Amaginantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Miritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Namasrishtam Anumapi Sachiputramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Garajam Urupurim Maturingo Stavritim Radha Kundagirivara Mahodadika Marava Sampraptaya Sapatita Kripaya Sri Gurum Tam Natosmi. So we're sandwiched in between the festival period, between Lord Balaram's appearance and Krishna's appearance, and very soon to have Radhastami in August in the same month as Balaram Jayanti and Krishna Janmastami. So it's a really action-packed month and a great month to become absorbed in Krishna's pastimes, transcendental pastimes and activities in Vrindavan, which are purifying for the mind, and they're performed to attract the conditioned souls to engage in our constitutional service, devotional service. That is, that when you hear about the pastimes of Krishna, yashrata tat paro bhavet, and we should engage in service. We hear about them not to enjoy the pastime as a form of sort of some kind of a sense gratification, but we hear about them to enjoy the pastimes of Krishna and to engage in his service. Not that we become Krishna or that we become, we somehow or other imagine ourselves in a position that we're not qualified to be in, but we're hearing the pastimes of Krishna for our purification and to develop attachment and attachment for Krishna, for his lotus feet, and attraction for devotional service, to continue to perform devotional service. So the Krishna book is one of Srila Prabhupada's very early presentations to the Western world. He's summarized the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the most esoteric of all teachings, of all theological teachings in all scriptures in the world, you can say. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that there's no literature like this, because it details the intricacies and of the intimacies of Krishna, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his associates, in 5 different primary rasas and 7 secondary rasas. And within those rasas, there is so much detail and so much incredibly comprehensive amount of information and subtleties and nuances of relationship. And we're going to hear that tonight in this pastime of the killing at Dhenukasura. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are full of intrigue and full of action. There's not a moment in Krishna lila where things are just stagnant, and where the cowherd boys are bored, because they make up their own enjoyment, they make up their own engagement, and they're always fully absorbed in Krishna, but fully absorbed in the moment of being Krishna conscious and engaging in all of their senses in devotional service. And we hear a beautiful description in the beginning of this chapter. This is chapter 15 from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, of how the Vrindavan forest is providing so much pleasure for Krishna in so many ways, and serving all the senses of Krishna and the cowherd boys and all the living entities. I'm going to read from the Krishna book because it's such an amazing presentation. Prabhupada has given this very fluid, very, very lucid, ongoing translation of the text, word by word, for text by text, through each of the chapters of the 10th canto, 90 chapters of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, and has also included integrated within those translations, philosophical points and cultural points and application points for understanding the application of the pastime. So it's a very unique literary contribution that Prabhupada has provided for us, this Krishna book. Such an amazing genre. It's a narrative genre, but it's within that narrative it's jam-packed with philosophical insights and understandings, providing us with understandings of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness within the story of Krishna's pastime, the all-attractive pastimes of Krishna. So the story begins with, in this way, Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram, passed the childhood age known as Kaumada and stepped into the age of Poganda from the 6th year up to the 10th. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows and the pasturing grounds. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balaram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. There's lots and lots of discussion about the significance of the age of Krishna and when this happened, on what particular tithi this happened. In Vrindavan, you might have known, you might have been in Vrindavan for Gopastami in the Kartik season. So that Gopastami is the time when Krishna was given charge of the cows. At the age of 5 years old, between 5 and 10, it's here. Or it says from the 6th year. That means you're 6 years running. From that age, Krishna was given charge of the cows, big cows. You can imagine a small 5-year-old boy being given charge of the cows and to take out herds of hundreds of thousands of cows into the forest. And what do boys do when they go into the forest, or what do boys do when they get together? They play and they enjoy and they engage in all sorts of spontaneous activities. And that's exactly what Krishna did. So everything that you see here in the material world and all the relationships that we have in the material world are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're coming. Prabhupada sometimes said that they're perverted reflection. It's a perverted reflection of the pure transcendental relationship that Krishna has with his cowherd boys, with his mother, with his girlfriends, or with his wives, or with his wife, and with his servants, and with nature. And we'll hear that coming up in this chapter. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balaram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full of flowers, vegetation, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes, with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet-smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends and Balaram, entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs bending down to touch the ground, as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. In this section in the Bhagavatam, it describes how the 5 senses of Krishna and Balaram were being served by the different aspects of Vrindavan forest. The flowers were providing this beautiful scent, and the cool breezes were bringing the fresh, were bringing the scent of the flowers to Krishna and Balaram, and they were also bringing the taste, so that the breeze was bringing the fragrance for the nose, and there's also a sweet taste from the cool lakes of the waters and the kundas in the Vrindavan forest. And the beautiful scenery was giving satisfaction to Krishna's eyes, and the humming of the bees and the birds was giving satisfaction to the ears of Krishna. So in this way, the taste, the smell, the eyes, the ears were all being satisfied by the forest of Vrindavan. And Krishna consciousness is, a point to extract here is that Krishna consciousness is very much a sensual exchange between Krishna and his devotees, and the devotees' senses become purified in the service of serving the master of the senses. Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balaram as follows: "My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees full with fruits and flowers have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into the stationary condition of life, but now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association." So this is a very interesting, unique conversation, interaction between Krishna and Balaram, and Krishna is seeing that the living entities in the living entities in Vrindavan, like the trees, they're offering their obeisances, the plants, the flowers, the fruits are offering their respects to him, but he's giving that respect to Balaram because Balaram's his older brother, and also Krishna is demonstrating this unique understanding that he has of the personal relationship between all the living entities in Vrindavan, and demonstrating for us that all living entities in Vrindavan have the capacity to engage in transcendental loving service. And then there's a couple of paragraphs where Krishna describes the different aspects of that service of the different living entities, the non-moving living entities in the Dham. In this way, Lord Krishna and Balaram began to enjoy the residents of Vrindavan to their full satisfaction as they herded the calves and cows on the bank of the Yamuna. In some places, Krishna and Balaram were accompanied by their friends. The boys were singing, imitating the humming sound of drones, and accompanying Krishna and Balaram, who were garlanded with fresh forest flowers. While walking, the boys sometimes imitated the quacking sound of the swans in the lakes, or when they saw the peacocks dancing, they imitated them before Krishna. Krishna also moved his neck, imitating the dancing and making his friends laugh. So that Krishna would say to the cowherd boys, these peacocks, they don't know how to dance properly. And so Krishna would imitate the dancing of the peacock by moving his neck and running around and make all of his friends laugh. The cows taken care of by Krishna had different names, and Krishna called them out with love. After hearing Krishna calling the cows would immediately respond by mooing, and the boys would enjoy this exchange to their heart's content. There was 900,000 cows, so Krishna has quite a good memory, and each cow also demonstrates how Krishna reciprocates with every living entity, and he has a capacity to reciprocate with all living entities in the universe. They would all imitate the sound vibrations made by the different kinds of birds, especially the chakoras, peacocks, cuckoos, and bhardwajas. Sometimes when they would see the weaker animals fleeing out of fear of the sounds of tigers and lions, the boys, along with Krishna and Balaram, would imitate the animals and run away with them. You can imagine how Vrindavan was 5,000 years ago, that's just full of pasturing grounds and vegetation and animals and an amazing life. But Krishna's life was in the forest, and the cows were in the forest. The cows weren't in pens or in pasturing grounds with no trees where they just ate grass and hay. But Krishna took the cows into the forest, and the cows would eat different types of grasses, and they would eat different fruits, and they would eat all different types of offerings from the Brajavasis. And they're very much domesticated. We're looking at a picture of Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys, a BBT picture, running through the forest, a big open space in the forest with trees and everything on all sides. And then we would see that, hang on, I'm seeing that there's no sound. Let me have a quick look here. Okay, it's fixed. And then we'd see that the cows were right next to Krishna, like the cows running with Krishna, and you could see how closely they're all connected, and they're just part of the family, that the cows are domesticated animals. And that's something which is really difficult to get your head around, particularly from a contemporary kind of Western upbringing, where our domesticated animals are cats and dogs, or perhaps birds in a cage. But cows is like having a horse in your house or having a cow in your house. It doesn't seem very natural. But in a natural environment, the cow, we were in places in Bali, or not Bali, in Bangladesh, and there are some of the goshalas there connected with the houses that they were more opulent than the house itself. The goshala was built with beautiful, woodwork and bricks and super clean, and all sorts of facilities in there for the cows. And the house was very simple, mud house and open, no windows or doors, and all open. So the cows had a very special position in Vrindavan Lila and Krishna Lila, and they're fully part of the household paraphernalia. Is the cows, part of the household family of the cows. Well, Krishna was thus engaged in his transcendental pastimes, exhibiting his internal potency in the company of the most fortunate cowherd boys. There occurred another chance for him to exhibit the superhuman powers of Godhead. His most intimate friends, Sridharma, Subala, and Stoka Krishna, addressed Krishna and Balaram with great love and affection. Thus, and the emphasis here is on great love and affection. Premnedidam abruvan. They addressed Krishna with love and affection, not that they wanted to get something for their own personal satisfaction. When they address Krishna and Balaram, it's not for their own motivation. It's not motivated by personal desire. It's motivated to increase the satisfaction of Krishna and Balaram. So they request Krishna and Balaram this. Dear Krishna, you are very expert in killing all kinds of disturbing demons. That is Krishna Dushta Nibharana. Will you kindly note that, first of all, it was to Balaram. Dear Balaram, you are very powerful. Rama Rama Mahabaho. Your arms are very strong. Dear Krishna, you are very expert in killing all kinds of disturbing demons. Will you kindly note that just near here, this place, there is a big forest, Mahavanam, of the name Talavan. This forest is full of palm trees, and all the trees are filled with fruits. Some have fallen down, and some of them are very ripe, even in the trees. It's a very nice place. But because of a great demon, Dhenukasura, it is very difficult to go there. No one can reach the trees to collect the fruits. Dear Krishna Balaram, this demon is present there in the form of an ass, and he is surrounded by similar demon friends who have assumed the same shape. All of them are very strong, so it is very difficult to approach this place. Dear brothers, you are the only persons who can kill such demons. Other than you, no one can go there for fear of being killed. Not even animals go there, and no birds are living there. They've all left. One can only appreciate the sweet aroma that is coming from that place. It appears that up until now, no one has tasted the sweet fruits there, either on the tree or on the ground. Dear Krishna, to tell you frankly, we are very attracted by this sweet aroma. Dear Balaram, if you like, let us all go there and enjoy these fruits. The aroma of the fruits is now spread everywhere. Don't you smell it from here? So here the cowherd boys, the rasa here is that they're trying to incite Krishna and Balaram to demonstrate their transcendental power, because they've got full confidence now. This is like chapter 15. They've seen Krishna kill demons. They've seen Krishna, they've experienced Krishna killing the Trinavata and they know that Krishna has this potency. They've seen that Krishna, the very chapter before this was Lord Brahma. So Krishna has this potency, well, maybe they didn't know about that, but Krishna has this potency to bring back, to expand himself and to create transcendental pastimes and love and affection, to kill Bhakasura and to kill Agasura. And so they know that Krishna has this power, and therefore they're inciting this sense of adventure, and that we want to see you exhibit that power again. Guru Kapata Manashaha. It's a hidden power. That Krishna comes in this form, along with Sahara Mena Keshava Atimatyani Bhagavan Gudakapatu Manashaha. He's hidden in this Krishna's form, in this human form. But they know, the cowherd boys secretly know, that he has this power and that they can do anything. And so they feel very confident with Krishna. They can go anywhere and they can do anything because they know that Krishna will protect them. And he's their ashraya. They take shelter of Krishna and Balaram. Not just the cowherd boys, but Nanda Maharaj takes shelter of Krishna and Yashoda takes shelter of Krishna. Nanda, there's a number of examples in the Krishna book where Nanda Maharaj calls out for Krishna for protection. When the serpent swallows Nanda Maharaj, he calls out for Krishna for protection. So they know that Krishna and Balaram can sort out this Dhenuka and his friends in the Talavan forest. I said that this Talavan forest is in between Govardhan and Mathura. There's quite a detailed description here from I think it's in the Padma Purana, that describes exactly where this has taken place, this pastime, in the Talavan forest. So the cowherd boys are not really, they're saying that they really want to enjoy these fruits, so that these sweet-smelling fruits, but they're really asking Krishna out of love and affection that, can we go there? And it said later on that the cowherd boys didn't even eat the fruits when the demons were killed. It said the low-class people, the low-class villagers came and ate the fruits, but the cowherd boys didn't even touch them. So that they were just really inciting Krishna. And this is a part of the intrigue and the tension in the narrative that's right here. That they've enjoyed in the forest. Krishna and Balaram have been enjoying imitating the different animals and playing with the cows and playing with the cowherd boys and resting. Sometimes Krishna would take rest in the forest on the lap of a cowherd boy, and sometimes Balaram would take rest on the lap of a cowherd boy, and Krishna would serve Balaram by massaging his feet and bringing him fresh water from the river, from the Yamuna. There's a lot of detailed description in this chapter in the killing of the Dhenukasura of how Krishna engages in these personal exchanges with Balaram and with the cowherd boys and with all the living entities in the forest. Okay, so now what's the response from Rama Mahabaho, from that great armed Rama, Balarama, and Krishna who can kill anybody? Krishna Dushta Nibharana, he's expert at destroying demons, and they're saying that the greatest demon to be destroyed here is the demon of hunger. Our stomachs are empty, and we want you to destroy that demon by removing this Dhenuka so that we can enjoy in the Talavan forest. When Balaram and Krishna were thus petitioned by their intimate friends, they were inclined to please them, and with smiling faces they proceeded toward the forest, surrounded by all their friends. Immediately upon entering the Talavan, Balaram began to yank the trees with his arms, exhibiting the strength of an elephant. It said that Balaram hadn't killed any demons before this. This is the first demon that was killed by Balaram. So Krishna wanted to give Balaram the honors of taking out Dhenuka, and then Krishna would join in. Because of this jerking, all the ripe fruits fell to the ground. Upon hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the demon Dhenukasura, who was living there in the form of an ass, approached with great force, shaking the whole field so that all the trees moved as if there were an earthquake. The demon appeared before Balaram and kicked his chest with his hind legs. At first, Balaram did not say anything, but with great anger, the demon kicked him again, more vehemently. This time, Balaram immediately caught hold of the legs of the ass with one hand and, wheeling him around, threw him into the treetops. While he was being wheeled around by Balaram, the demon lost his life. Balaram threw the demon into the biggest palm tree about, and the demon's body was so heavy that the palm tree fell upon other trees and several fell down. It appeared as if a great hurricane was passing through the forest, and all the trees were falling down one after another. This exhibition of extraordinary strength is nothing astonishing, because Balaram is the personality of Godhead known as Anantashesha Naga, who is holding all the planets on the hoods of his millions of heads. He maintains the whole cosmic manifestation exactly as horizontal and vertical threads hold the weaving of a cloth. Recently on Balaram's appearance day, we read this pastime, and we were meditating on the pastime of Balaram in Hastinapur, when Balaram drags the city of Hastinapur into the Yamuna. into the Ganges. And the description there was like an earthquake. Here it says that it was like an earthquake was going through the Taliban forest because the trees were crashing down on top of each other, these tall palm trees. But you can imagine a whole city coming in, being dismantled, and like a tremor, an earthquake in Hastinapur, and being dragged into a river. It's an incredible visual imagery that's been presented in Bhagavatam. And once again, it's presented that the pastimes and activities of Krishna and Balaram, they can't be imitated. And this is the qualification of Godhead. The qualification of Godhead is that you can move cities, you can shift cities with a plow, and you can lift a mountain, and you can catch demons' hind legs and whiz them around, and smash down tall palm trees. But not ordinary 6-year-old boys can't perform these activities. And so the cowherd boys are watching, they're thrilled by it, and the demigods come and they fill the skies. It says the demigods, Prabhupada describes how the demigods move through the skies in airplanes. And he compares the airplanes to modern day airplanes that are metal, and they're powered by petrol, diesel, and how they have it. They're very precarious when they're flying through the sky. Anything could happen, and they smash. But he said the airplanes of the demigods, they never crash, and they never become old, and they never have to be replaced. And they're of a different nature. They're not a material yantra. The demigods airplanes are fully safe and secure and very attractive, and fill the skies, especially in these pastimes. They fill the skies so that they can see the demigods come. They hear about the pastime, and they want to come and see what Krishna and Balaram are doing in the forest, this time with their cowherd boys killing another lot of demons. After the demon had been thrown into the trees, all the friends and associates of Dhenukasura immediately assembled and attacked Balaram and Krishna with great force. They were determined to retaliate and avenge the death of their friend. But Krishna and Balaram caught each of the asses by the hind legs, and exactly in the same way wheeled them around. So they had this technique, this procedure of catching them by the hind leg, wheeling them around and tossing them up into the trees. Thus they killed all of them and threw them into the palm trees. Because of the dead bodies of the asses, there was a panoramic scene. It appeared as if the clouds of various colors were assembled in the trees. Hearing of this great incident, the demigods from the higher planets showered flowers on Krishna and Balaram and beat their drums and offered devotional prayers. And the demigods were very much part of Krishna's pastimes and very attracted by Krishna's pastimes, particularly in Vrindavan. Sometimes they would accompany Krishna. Here it says that they beat their drums and they offered devotional prayers. Sometimes they would play instruments and sing according to the pastime. In the pastime of the Kaliya, which is the next pastime after this Dhenukasura, chapter 16, you'll hear how the demigods come and they accompany Krishna. Krishna is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, and as in all dance performances, Bharatanatyam performances, music's really important, the raga is really important, and so the demigods came, and the Vidyadharas and the Gandharvas, they came, and they played their different instruments to accompany Krishna's dance movements on the moving stage of Kaliya's hoods. A few days after the killing of the Dhenukasura, people began to come into the Taliban forest to collect the fruits, and animals began to return there without fear to feed on the nice grasses growing there. Just by chanting or hearing these transcendental activities and pastimes of the brothers Krishna and Balaram, one can amass pious activities. There's a description of the Taliban forest given in one of the, I think, in Padma Purana, and it describes it as a very beautiful forest with flat lands and no pebbles or stones in there, and fresh grass is always growing in the Taliban forest, and beautiful, dark, rich soil. There's a whole description of this forest of Taliban, and you can go there today. When Krishna and Balaram entered the village of Vrindavan along with their friends, so this is a kind of a recurring theme in the narrative of the Krishna book, in the narrative of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, particularly in the Vrindavan lila, where Krishna's woken up in the morning, he's dressed, he's decorated, he's fed, and he's sent out into the forest with his friends, and to go to work with his friends and the cows, to go out into the forest by Mother Yashoda and Rohini and all of the cowherd women of Braj. And then they go out there, they enjoy all these transcendental pastimes, and there's all sorts of intrigues throughout the day, all different types of dramas and all different types of tension that happens within tension. So stories within the story, the narrative within the narrative outside. And then they're coming back at the end of the day, at the end of a hard, long day in the forest of Braj. They come back, and there's always a beautiful description of Krishna, the perspiration and the dust raised by the cow's hooves and how he looks at he offers his sidelong glances to the gopis who are waiting for him to come back from the pasturing grounds all day, and then he's greeting Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. So it's quite an incredible and a unique genre of narrative, the Krishna book, that has all the aspects, all of the elements of a great narrative. The introduction, the setting the scene, the tension, the resolution, and the lesson to learn going through that narrative. When Krishna and Balaram entered the village of Vrindavan along with their friends, they played their flutes, and the boys praised their uncommon activities in the forest. Their faces were decorated with tilak and smeared with the dust raised by the cows, and Krishna's head was decorated with a peacock feather. Both he and Balaram played their flutes, and the young gopis were joyous to see Krishna returning home. All the gopis in Vrindavan remained very morose on account of Krishna's absence. All day they were thinking of Krishna in the forest, or of him herding cows in the pasture. When they saw Krishna returning, all their anxieties were immediately relieved, and they began to look at his face the way drones hover over the honey of the lotus flower. When Krishna entered the village, the young girls, the gopis, smiled and laughed while Krishna while playing the flute, enjoyed the beautiful smiling faces of the gopis. And there's a description here how this is a natural exchange between when a young boy and a young girl have attraction for each other. Then the girl will feel very satisfied and fulfilled when the object of her affection reciprocates with her by a sidelong glance or by a smile or by raising his eyebrows. But Krishna has the capacity to do this with unlimited personalities, and he does that with all of the gopis in Vrindavan. And the gopis at this stage, they're hiding their affection for Krishna. They have this unnatural, unbounded love and affection for Krishna, but they're hiding it. And this is revealed when Akrura comes to Vrindavan. He's sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. And then when Krishna and Balaram are about to get onto the chariot of Akrura, the gopis can't hold back anymore. And there's that beautiful Govinda Damodara Madhaveti verse from the Srimad, from the 10th canto in the Bhagavatam, when it says that the gopis, the Vraja Striya, who Krishna Vishakta Manasaha, their minds were completely attached to Krishna. They unabashedly, without reserve, they couldn't hold back anymore. They called out, Rudusma Susvaram. Loudly they called out, without shame. It says, Visrijya Lajasam. Without any shame, they loudly called out, Govinda Damoda Madhaveti. So that is the intense connection that Krishna has with the gopis. But we see it, he has it with all living entities. He has it with the gopas, he has it with the trees, he has it with the birds, he has it with all living entities in the universe, what to speak of all living entities in Vraja. But the living entities in Vraja reciprocate with Krishna because they've taken birth there to engage in this satisfaction of Krishna's senses and to engage in Krishna's transcendental pastime. Now we finish up this beautiful chapter in the 10th canto in the Krishna book with a description. It's before it does the introduction to the next chapter, which is the Kaliya, where the boys will be unconscious, will leave their bodies, and living entities leave their bodies because of the poisonous vapors of Kaliya on the bank of the Yamuna. First of all, Krishna is back in the village Now he's being addressed by Mother Yashoda and Rohini. Then Krishna and Balaram were immediately received by their affectionate mothers, Yashoda and Rohini, who, according to the time's demands, began to fulfill the desires of their affectionate sons. Simultaneously, the mothers rendered service and bestowed benediction upon their transcendental sons. They took care of their children by bathing them and dressing them very nicely. Krishna was dressed in yellowish garments and Balaram was dressed in bluish garments. And they were given all sorts of ornaments and flower garments. Being relieved of the fatigue of their day's work, and it's a hard day's work out there in the village in Vrindavan for Krishna and Balaram, in the pasturing ground, they looked refreshed and very beautiful. They were given palatable dishes by their mothers, and they pleasantly ate everything. After eating, they were seated nicely on clean bedding, and the mothers began to sing various songs of their activities. This is a common feature of Mother Yashoda and the Brajavasis. You'll hear the Brajavasis out on the way to any of the pilgrimage places in Vrindavan, on the way to Radhakund or Govardhan or Yavat or anywhere. You'll hear big groups of them in these crowded in little rickshaw autos singing bhajans, singing pastimes, Brajavas pastimes of Krishna. And it says that Mother Yashoda, when at the time of churning the butter, Darini Mantare Kale, she would Smaranti Tanya Gayata, she was thinking of Krishna, she was chanting Krishna's pastimes and activities, and in this way she would remember Krishna. And so she would remember Krishna at the night time when she was tucking Krishna into bed, she would sing various songs of his activities. As soon as they lay down on their bedding, they very quickly fell fast asleep. In this way, Krishna and Balaram used to enjoy Vrindavan life as cowherd boys. So the last point to make here is Yashoda and Rohini. It says that they were satisfying Krishna, every desire that Krishna had, and Balaram had. They would satisfy that desire because they. But an interesting point here is that it wasn't whimsically satisfying that desire. It says in the Sanskrit that they yata kamam yata kalam vyaratam paramashishaha, that whatever they desired, they fulfilled that desire, but they fulfilled that desire at the right time. And Prabhupada used the term, so it's the right time, according to the right time and circumstances, they presented first-class enjoyable offerings to Balaram and Krishna. Prabhupada said that according to the time's demands, and this is a really important point for a parenting point here in the Krishna book, is that obviously the first point that we take from Krishna Lila in terms of parenting is the intense affection that the mother has for the child and the father has for the child, and how that is intensified and how that is developed in their relationship by each of the parents and the children performing their duty in a dutiful way, performing their responsibilities in a dutiful way. And so the mother and father always have that responsibility of correcting and of providing and nurturing and nourishing. And the child has the responsibility of reciprocating with affection and reciprocating with obedience and following the order and direction of their parents. And they'll do that because of that intense love, because of that strong bond of love. And Prabhupada makes this point many times elsewhere, that we can't influence children in a negative way by always presenting with them restrictions. And no, Prabhupada said that no is not a very good, it's not a good way to get children to do what you want to do, but rather we use a positive approach to parenting, a positive approach to teaching and to communicating with children. And we do that in a way that is time, place, and circumstance. So yata kamam, yata kalam, that all of their desires were fulfilled, but they were fulfilled in the proper time in the right place. So they ate at the right time. They were dressed at the right time, at a particular time, in a regulated way. That wasn't that they were given unlimited facility for sense gratification. Prabhupada said to give a child sense gratification from a young age is the greatest form of violence. And children don't need that. We were talking with our neighbor just before class, and he's quite a simple Eastern European guy, really nice guy, and he's got a little daughter, little 3-year-old daughter, 2-3-year-old daughter, and he's saying we're in lockdown now. We're in a stage 4 lockdown with curfews and masks and everything, like very high level lockdown in Melbourne. And he's really disturbed by it because he's gregarious type of person. He's a people's person. He likes to go out, and he's a salesperson. He likes to be out there and talking. So it's really killing him to be locked down and with this curfew. And he's saying, "Oh, but I'm worried about my daughter." And she's a 3-year-old girl. "I'm worried about my daughter, how this is going to affect my daughter." But I was thinking on the way, I didn't say anything, but I was thinking that his daughter wouldn't have a clue that there's a lockdown. She's completely oblivious to the COVID-19 pandemic. So everything that's happening around her life is just her mother and her father and in her house. So nothing's changed for her really. And she can still go out into the park outside and walk around the park. So she wouldn't know what the restrictions are not affecting her in the same way that they're affecting him or affecting adults. So the child, if we regulate the child and we give them everything that they need, it's not that we give them things that are superfluous, everything that they need. So they need palatable dishes. They need to be fed healthy and nutritious food. They need good clothing. They need to be cleaned. And these are really basic human requirements, basic needs. And we see them beautifully demonstrated here in the pastime of, in the Krishna book, in all the pastimes of the Krishna book, with Mother Yashoda and Rohini reciprocating with Krishna and Balaram. That was Putriya Putra Vatsale. They have this intense affection for both of their children, and they reciprocate in an appropriate way to relieve them of the fatigue of their day's work. So the next chapter is a wonderful chapter, and it's very incredibly diverse and descriptive, and the Acharyas use this chapter, the Kaliya pastime, to demonstrate reciprocation with Krishna in all the different types of rasas and all the different types of moods and emotions that the Brajavasis exhibit when they see Krishna entrapped in the coils of the Kaliya. And he's in there for 2 hours. It's quite an amazing pastime. And then he's being liberated, and the many stages of the tension and the setup of this pastime is quite incredible, the way that it's presented in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavatam. So there's a little bridge between Balaram Purnima and Krishna Janmastami. A beautiful pastime, a meditation of Balaram and Krishna in the forest that will get us through to our Janmastami on Wednesday. And we have a lockdown Janmastami where we have the opportunity to hear from devotees from all around the world, to hear from Prabhupada all day and all night, and to read the Krishna book. I mean, it was the very first experience of the devotees that they had. I remember in the New Govardhan, at the U Vrindavan in West Virginia, was Prabhupada came there for that famous Janmastami Vyasa Puja ceremony. And he was reading the Krishna book to the devotees all through the night, right to the night with the devotees crashing out left, right, and centre, but reading. And we have that tradition in Melbourne Temple where somebody would be rostered to read Krishna book all day in the temple, in the courtyard, and it creates a very transcendental atmosphere by hearing Krishna's pastime non-stop, particularly the way it's written by Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book. It's very, very unique contribution that Prabhupada's made, giving us this 10th canto summary of the most esoteric understanding, the most esoteric presentation of Godhead in any scriptures in the world. and it's captured here in this Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I'm very fortunate to have this 3-volume series of Krishna, the Silver Jacket 3-volume series that I got. I've had two sets of it. One set I lost, and this set I got from Madhuri Mataji in Auckland. She had a few sets. Somebody had donated them back to the library, and she had some sets, and I actually picked them up there. So once again, we're indebted to Madhuri Mataji and to the devotees in Auckland. So enjoy your Krishna Janmashtami and Radhastami, and absorb yourself in this Krishna Katha. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Actually, Juna said we can see if there's any questions. Not sure if anybody's on. Sudama Mataji's on. Arjuna's on. Radnavali Mataji's on. And I'm sure some other devotees will pick up during the week. Gaurati Mataji. Haribol. Are there any questions or comments, or shall we get on with our evening? You have enjoyed your Krishna book and milk. We're just about to have our evening prasadam. Okay, Jai. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gopramanandi. Madhuryam Rita Devi Dasi, Haribol. How do we get out of this one? Mainstream finish.